Hey, what's going on everyone? This is JoeYoursTruly back with a video, and today we're gonna be doing an updated build guide on how to build all the offlaners in the game right now. So I did this a while back and you guys seem to really enjoy that video. So I do want to try to give you guys a more updated build guide because definitely some stuff have changed quite a bit for all these different offlaners. So I definitely want to give you guys an updated build guide and all that because there's some really kind of spicy builds you can do, especially with the recent item changes. But without further ado, let's kind of jump straight into it. We're going to be first talking about Countess. So nothing too dramatic is changed for Countess for the most part. I would say though, definitely, I used to really like doing mega custom waist leggings on her, but I'm really starting to really like doing life binder and world breaker because life binder did get buffed. The mirror is not showing that, but essentially it got buffed. It's doing more magical power, but also the build path for it is improved. So you can now build 2 blood tombs with it, so you can get more of that early sustain. And so what kind of happens too, especially with the Countess changes, is that you can have a very sustaining kind of build with Countess now, like with the healing buffs for the B and with like the buffs to Lifebinder. You can still do plenty of damage with these 3 core items, but now instead you can really sustain, get a ton of lifesteal whenever you hit people with your abilities, and be very elusively kind of durable. I would say in these kind of fights. So definitely, I think these 3 items are very solid right now in the offlane. And of course, going like the Soul Bearer is also very solid for more lifesteal on that. Last 2 items, you can kind of flex a little bit based on your facing. Definitely, Taint Scepter is not a bad choice for more, a little bit more burst damage, but also more HP that goes into Lightbinder and World Breaker. And last item, you can do Oblivion Crown. So this is a very solid 5 item core you can do on Countess in the offlane. Up next, we have Quench. So Quench is a little bit different based on your preferred playstyle on how you want to build him. So what I like to build him is I like to actually go Assassin's Quest because Witch Stalker actually works really good on him for the cleanse, and it's just a very solid quest to really help enable Quench to do a lot more like burst damage in his combos. So definitely though, with going Assassin's Quest makes him a little bit more squishy. So if you're not as comfortable on the Quench, then I would say you go Ice Golden Talons for more better, well-rounded stats. And Ice Golden Talons is a more consistent quest you can make use out of. And definitely, his core items haven't really changed too much. It definitely is melee almost all the time as the first item. And then what I like to do is I like to do Augmentation second. So there's a very solid 2 power spike core build on him. And then your last 3 items, you can sort of flex a little bit how you're facing. So if you want to build Quench more tanky, then you can do like a Tainted Guard as kind of like your item against like offlaners. But a very kind of general core build patch you can go with Quench is you can go like Triconum, and then you can combine that with Voidhelm. And that's essentially what it does. It's gonna give you like the physical armor, magical armor, but also playing health, and both of these will increase your healing on your passive, and you can proc your second passive on Voidhelm with your knockups. And so the last item can be just a never flex item, so you can go more tank with Wayman, or you can do like a Salvation as kind of like your last item. And then up next we have Feng Mao. So Feng Mao is someone that actually has very different build paths depending on who you're facing in the offlane. So if you're against like, let's say just kind of like a Grux or Quench, then what you can do is you can go like a Mutilator first, and then of course you always want to build Mind Waster and you build 100%. You kind of need that for your mana sustain, but also just a very excellent item on Feng Mao in general. So definitely Mind Waster is almost always the second item. Your first and third item is going to change depending on who you're facing. Melee for Quench, Grux, or even Sevarog, I would say. And if you're against, like, let's say the Shinbi, the Countess, the Riktor, the Steel, then instead of like Mutilator, you go like a, what is that? Like, you go like, Dread first. For that magical armor, it's still a very strong, like, first item code for damage wise. And so your third item, that's where it's also again based on who you're facing. If you get a Quench or Crush, you need to like counter the healing. That's where you can easily go into a Tainted Blade. So I need to go find this. I did a lot of items, there we go. But if you get, like, let's say you get a Sevarog, you pick up Mutilator, then a Dread is a very solid third item, right? So very like there's a lot of different items you need to like change around, and this is where you just need to have a good understanding of the items and just knowing which ones can kind of count. So I kind of give you guys a good general 3 items to kind of change up depending on who you're facing. But then you can just finish up your items, which is more like assassin items. So you can always go Pain Weaver if you would like that item. I really like Death Stalker is also really solid. If you want to shred through tanks, you can just pick up the tank play like that. Ultimate's actually really solid, so if you can fit that in at the force of fit item, definitely go for it. And also, of course, you just go next for Feng Mao for burst damage. Next up is Greystone, and Greystone is very interesting how you build him. Cause like I guess the hard thing about Greystone, you saw me. I pretty much play him in all different roles. I play him support even. So there's some lot of really good items you can work with him. I would say you can go assassin, you can go tank, you can go the regular kind of warrior boosted build. Kind of like how I like to build him is I really like the just going to front them on him. I think that's just the most consistent source of damage. Even though this item was technically sort of nerfed or adjusted, it's still very strong. Like Greystone would say. And so like a favorite general build I like to go on him is Infernum, and I like to actually go Overload on him. So sorry, I'm trying to like figure out where these items are at. But essentially the reason why we go Overload is because I think Greystone is definitely someone that really likes HP items because of his ultimate. His ultimate healing is based on the maximum HP he has. So the more HP he has, the more potent his ultimate is. So you kind of want to try to sneak in HP items whenever you can, and Overload is just a very good item for that because all that bonus HP you're building will get converted to bonus physical power. So I'd say this is a very solid 2-core build item on him for like very general purposes. The only time this will change is if you're against tanks, Infernum kind of loses its value against damaging tanks. So that's when instead of Infernum, you go like Basilisk. So it's still a very solid core to kind of counter tanks, I would say. But most of the time, you're going to be running these two in the off lane. And of course, Ice-Golem Talons as this quest. And so your last 3 items, it's going to be mostly depending on who you're facing. You kind of counter build your way through. So if you're against like let's say your Wind Page jungle or your offlane is starting to build a lot of armor, that's when you can easily just do Basilisk, bonus HP, and it's going to Overload. And then you can do something like, you can go more pure tank as the last 2. So this is where you can do like a Wayman, huge fat stat stick for HP, and then you can do like Bonesaw. Bonesaw, it's not like a crazy synergy item, but I really like it because it's a huge stat stick on him anyways, like 600 HP, and also the fact that it just enables his more auto attack playstyle. So this is kind of like a very solid generalistic build. You can never go wrong on Greystone offlane. Next up is going to be Grux, and so I would say nothing too dramatic is changed on him. Definitely Voice Quest is what you want to go on him. Bonesaw is something you almost always want to go for the most part. So the interesting thing about Grux I do have to say is you can either build him more tanky like how I like to do it, or you can build more of an actual warrior. So what you see is a lot of people like to do Bonesaw Basilisk because essentially this is a very strong combo. It's pretty much good to anything, including tanks, because you get all this HP, so you're not as like too fragile. And Basilisk is where you can really stop the shred tanks a whole lot. And so you can never go wrong with this combo, 100%. And if you go with this build well, you're pretty much building more HP boosters. So like third item can be something like a Salvation. You can then go into like Draconum next to increase your healing, a little bit more durability. And you can always flex into like Wayman as your last item to run out the build, or you can go something like Legacy if you worry about like CC in the enemy team. But if you like to go more the tanky route, then you actually would go, instead of like Ice-Golem Talons, you would go like Knee Wood Boots, and then you just go for more pure healing bonuses. So this is where you build like Draconum second or third, and you combine that with Foy Helm, and you have a very strong like durable build where not only you kind of cover your bases in both physical and magical defenses, but also you get all the additional healing that can go build into your Knee Wood Boots, and it can build into your passive as well with the Army Fam you have in Grux's kit. And so I really like this cold build for like tank builds. You can then of course go Wayman, all the bonus healing applies to Wayman as well, and last item is very depending on what you want. You can like Stonewall, you go pure tank, you can go Salvation for a little bit more damage, but also a greater kind of defensive capabilities. Next up is Kallari. Kallari is a very interesting pick offlane, I would say. She's definitely one of the more highest skill ceiling characters because her early lane phase is actually quite hard to play in the sense that if you don't know exactly what you're doing, you're gonna be struggling with Kallari because she's just so easy to kind of bully. She's kind of fragile in the lane phase, but in return, she has some very strong burst DPS you can do in the early game if you can get it off. And so essentially how I like to play Kallari is more of a split pushing build, because the typical Kallari build you see most of the time is with all the assassin items. But with the Kallari offlane, you're not necessarily picking her to like go assassinate targets across the map. If you're gonna play like that, you might as well play Kallari jungle, right? The advantage that Kallari has is she has some very, very strong split pushing. I would say she has some of the strongest split pushing in the game because of her very high base attacks. She can just shred through turns really, really fast. So what we do with this build is we kind of enable that essentially to just make it really kind of bonkers. So you kind of saw a while ago, but essentially you go Sky Splitter Bone Saw, which sounds very interesting, right? But it is actually legitimately like really, really good, because essentially this is just enabling you to just all attack really fast, and your all attacks just hurt really, really hard because of like the all attack speed you get, with like you're parking your pastime your Sky Splitter, and Bonesaw is also comes this as well, especially with the 600 HP, so you have that more better ability to actually take those trades. Because essentially with this kind of build, you're trying to go, it's a build you can actually solo offlanes, including tanks, because usually Kallari can struggle against the tankier dudes like the Steel and the Sevarog, but with this build patch, she can actually 1v1 them. Instead of like having to rely on the abilities to do burst damage, she can actually just whittle down them with her auto attacks, with her abilities of course. So if you get like the tanks in the game, I would say, then definitely go Dreads and they'll damage Iron Ball, so you get that magical armor against them. So you even can go Dread first instead of Sky Splitter, so you can get that early defenses, but also still have a lot of playing damage. You go these 3 items, then you can do Kingsbane, more attack speed, but also enables you to do really good in like the all-ins. And the last item, you can definitely go Mutilator, because also you can park HP damage based on your auto attacks. So very solid, very potent split pushing build if you know how to use it and get through the early game. Next up is gonna be Riktor right here. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out if I missed anyone. Yeah, so Riktor is the next one. So nothing too dramatic has changed on Riktor for the most part. You still go like the usual kind of tankier kind of build. So you'll definitely be going like a Titan's Quest. Sacrifice Mentor is definitely solid because he scales on HP. So if you can get both HP from this, it's very, very solid. I always like to go Brimstone first, always, into any matchup, because we play Riktor for that early game DPS and trying to get some early kills to kind of snowball. And so Brimstone is one of the best T2 items you can go on hand while building tanking to enable that. So definitely go Brimstone. And once you get Brimstone, this is where you kind of change your items depending on who you're facing. Against like the Grux Crunch, you go Tainted Guard second, then you go back to Brimstone, finish out Fire Blossom, or instead of like Tainted Guard like against like other tanks, then you go like Taint Bastion, right? And so your items you just pretty much build depending on who you're facing. If there's a lot of physical based heroes, you just build a lot of armor. If there's a lot of magical based heroes, you just build magical armor. But definitely somewhere in your build, you want to build building World Breaker, because again, it scales with HP. Riktor loves HP scaling builds, but also he likes to do more damage, because Riktor's a bit more of a offensive take rather than a pure defense. So having a World Breaker in there somewhere to help you keep doing a lot of significant DPS is really, really solid. So last 2 items, I'm just gonna just throw some random ones like Stonewall and then like Tainted Guard. So you're pretty much building with the tanky, but with items like Fire Blast and World Breaker, you're gonna still do some very potent damage. If you're feeling kind of aggressive, instead of going more pure tank, then you can go like let's say like Oathkeeper as your last item. Oathkeeper is actually a really good item on him, so if you can sneak that in along with these items, it can actually be really good as well. So next up is going to be Sevarog. He's very similar to Riktor, except he doesn't build Brimstone. Because Brimstone can actually mess up your soul stacking, so you definitely don't want to build this item. So your first, pretty much what you want to build your first item is going to be more like a pure kind of countering your opponent, because your main goal as Sevarog offlane is to kind of farm, and the best way you can do that is you can make sure you build items that's good against your offlane. You can take the damage from them and be able to like sustain through the laning phase. So definitely either Sacrifice Mentor or Weighted Back is very solid on the Sevarog. If you're against the Grux or Countess, then definitely just build straight into Tainted Guard. If you're against like another tank, then just build straight into Tainted Bastion. So you're just building pretty much to counter your offlaner when you do Sevarog offlane. But definitely somewhere in your build, I would say you want to build World Breaker as well. World Breaker is actually pretty insane on Sevarog because he just gets bonus HP from his passive, and that goes straight into World Breaker. So it just makes this a very, very potent item. This item alone can be your main source of damage, and you can actually get plenty of magical power from World Breaker. It's actually very kind of disgusting on him. So you can do something like Tainted Bastion, and if you want to build more magical armor, do like Foil Helm. Not Foil Helm, but like Crystalline. But if you want to balance out, you go Tainted Guard. And so you can kind of have a very tanky build, but have plenty of damage as soon as you get World Breaker. You can even go World Breaker second if you want to get more of the early game damage, but definitely by third item you want World Breaker so in your build. And definitely you can just go like whatever tank items afterwards to kind of counter who you're facing and as an enemy team as a whole. So like Wayman and kind of like Stonewall as example. If you're feeling a little spicy, you can definitely go Lifebinder because with the buffs too especially, I think it can be great for sustained kind of builds. So since Sevarog is a very tanky dude, you can go Lifebinder, more magical power makes you have more damage threat, but also all your abilities like your Qs you can kill quite a bit, I would say. But this is more like kind of like situation items. If you're feeling up to it, definitely. If you are behind, then definitely you can really build Lifebinder. Next up is Shinbi, and she has probably like a very interesting build path you can go on her that's actually really good from what I heard and what I have played personally. And that is, you still go the normal like mega custom item, but your second core item is actually going to be almost always time warp. And let me kind of explain why that's the case. If I can find there we go, mega custom and where's time warp. The reasons for it is because, oh, this item by the way is not updated. So what the changes what Time Warp had essentially is they removed the physical armor and instead they give it the mana regen, which is actually a very big deal because the big thing about Shinbi is that she's very mana hungry, especially if you're spamming Qs and Es and all that good stuff. And so you almost always have to go some kind of mana sustain item at some point. Like a Casca is always really good. It's so cool if you want mana sustain in terms of just having a huge mana pool. But those items are not always necessarily the best, or whether those are items you kind of sort of build later, or if you build like a certain core, then you're gonna hurt your power spike with Megacosm. If you're trying to build into Caustica, that's more like a force fit item, and so like you're missing all that early mana sustain that you kind of want to get. So that's why something like Time Warp is really good because Time Warp is actually fine to build a little bit early. You get a huge static with 90 magical power, ability haste, and this is where you can just really kind of spam ability especially. So you have that mana regen, you can have better mana sustain as you kind of go about the battlefield. But also the passive where you can decrease the cooldowns of your abilities is actually quite insane because that means you can spam Qs even more potently. So imagine you throw a Q, then you get the second reduction, and then you can throw a Q now more rapidly, or just because Shinbi is a very spammy mage, she has longer cooldowns with EOB, so if you can with the high ability haste and with the passive that can make the tick go down on the build, it's actually a very big deal for Shinbi because Shinbi is definitely someone that is called out if she has no abilities up, but with something like Time Warp, she can shorten that time in where she has vulnerability and enable the keep spam abilities and keep getting out sticky situations. So this is a very strong combo that you guys definitely have to try out. Definitely, if you like the build Shinbi still on the more bruiser side, then you definitely just do like same way to do counts with like Lifebinder and World Breaker. But honestly, I think Time Warp is honestly a must pick item on Shinbi right now, and you can still flex into more of a booster build, so you can do like Lifebinder after that World Breaker, so you have a very solid cold build. Well, you have the mana sustain right here, you have all the bonus HP right here, so you're a bit more durable, and last item is very flexible. You can go Tainted Scepter or you can go Oblivion Crown if you're looking to blow up people. So this is the kind of this one item alone makes Shinbi building very, very interesting, and I'm very excited for this time of change because I think this is a very good item right now. And last but not least, it's the Orange Man himself, and that is Steel. So this is nothing too much changed for him for the most part. Like the tanks haven't really got changed too much. They still build the same stuff, I would say. So Steel definitely You build him pretty much like how I build Riktor. Well, you go Brimstone because getting that Brimstone will help with your wave clear, especially. Still has very slow wave clear, so you definitely need Brimstone to help with that. And also, this is going to give you that early game damage to really take advantage of your kit for kind of wearing down people and going for kills. So definitely Brimstone first, and then you just build the counter. So just Tainted Guard, build into Fire Blossom. I would say though, Steel is would build a little bit more on the tankier side than the Riktor. Riktor focuses a little bit more on DPS on his items, while Steel focuses more on like actual tankiness. So World Breaker is one of those items that you may or may not actually go on him. You may focus more on pure tank. So I can go like Crystalline, Tank, Bastion, and then like Wayman last. So a very kind of tanky, traditional kind of Steel build with like Razorback. But if you're off every head and you're feeling like you want to keep doing a lot more significant damage, then you can of course still sneak in the World Breaker in there. I actually kind of like to build World Breaker as a third or fourth item on the steel, and the rest is just pure tank. So like Wayman and then like Tank Bastion, just kind of like this is an example. But anyway, that's just about it. So I do hope you guys enjoyed this video, and definitely let me know in the comments if you guys want to continue seeing me put out this more updated guide. So like as the meta dramatically changes, as we get a lot more offlaner healers, this is something I'll try to keep an eye on and try to do and give you guys updated build guides 100%, because I get questions asked a lot about what's the best way to build offlaners, what items I should go and why. That's why I kind of in my video descriptions I put the build guide or build items in every video. So if you guys want to see how I would build that offlaner, at least in that game, then that's kind of like the full build, and that kind of give you guys a good idea what items are really good with. So this is more like a dedicated build guide. So for those who's very interested to know the total breakdown of what items to go and why, this is the video for you guys. So I really hope you guys enjoy this video. Definitely let me know if you want me to keep doing this, and thank you as always for all the amazing support, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.